Now that I've got these two really interesting nodes in my level, I'm going to go ahead and close the level editor. And over in my content browser, I'm going to do something new. You'll note that I've got all of these saved versions of my scene. They're not in a folder, but I can make a new folder. We'll call this Levels, and I can move these into here. I can just select, drag over, and move here. So now everything is in a folder. While I'm in here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to right-click and make a new level. This new level is going to be my main menu level. I'm calling it main menu. That name is going to be important, just as are the names of all of my previous saves. This one is the final one that I've been working on, and that one's the one that I'll be calling with the menu, so knowing its name is going to be really important. If I double-click into this, I should be able to, sure, save. That's fine. I should be able to open it. And you'll see that when it opens, it's just a big black thingamahoozer. That's fine. I don't need any data in this level. I made it primarily so that I could make a level blueprint for it. I'll come back to that idea in a minute. I made a menu level so that I could have a level blueprint. Back in my content browser, I will go back to Content. I'm going to make another new folder. This one I'm going to call UI. So here's where all of my user interface elements are going to go. And in here, what I am going to add is a user interface widget blueprint. This one I'm going to call main menu wid for widget, and we'll leave it there. I will eventually have a couple of these, so if you want to go ahead and make them all now, you can. I'm going to have one for a pause menu, because eventually we will be making a pause menu. And I'm going to have a third one. This one is going to be for a credits page. And we'll set those all up. I'll walk through setting up the widget itself pretty slowly, in as much detail as I can. I find the widget interface to be not as user-friendly as it could be. But you'll note that when I double-click on the widget, I get this new widget editor. It is similar to the other editors in Unreal. Over here you've got a palette where you can add things. This is the hierarchy of everything that you've got. And as you add things, you'll see them appear here. They'll have some details here. Up here I've got a designer section and a graph section. The graph obviously will let me see an event graph, and the designer section will let me design what this widget looks like. So far so good. Now the things that you need to know inside the widget. This blue box right here has a pixel dimension of 1920 by 1080. That's the standard size of a high-definition monitor, and that's the size that Unreal assumes that all of your games are going to be. Down here it's got this little slidey. That means that this content is scalable. So as I'm building this, I want to bear in mind that my content is going to be 1920 by 1080, but that it should be scalable. In the palette, I can add a bunch of stuff here, and you'll see that there are all kinds of fun things. There are special effects, synth, misc. We'll be dealing mainly with stuff here, although sometimes I'm going to be typing things in, like vertical box, which is a basic thing, and we're going to need it. But right now, all I want to do is just set up the background of the menu, And for that, I am going to take this image button and drag that down here onto the canvas panel. That creates this image. It's called image 292, and when I do this, you can see that what I'm getting here is this pretty flower, and hiding behind the pretty flower, I've got this box that is my image. I can click and drag to resize it, and when I do that, you see that I'm getting these numbers pop up here. These are pixel dimensions, so if I want this image box to fill the whole screen, I can type in 1920 into X and 1080 into Y. My alignment is set to 0, 0, and 0, 0 is, I believe, this upper corner. So to change that, I can go to Anchors, and I can anchor this in the center. Now it'll move from the center. And it'll scale from the center, and that'll just make things a little bit nicer. There is a size to content box, which is set to false. This would size the image that I've set here to its content. So if I had a pre-built image that was 1920 by 1080, I would click this button. I thought about pre-making an image for this and I decided against it. Instead, I'm just going to use one of my texture files. So I will go here under Brush. Brush, strangely, is where the images live. So under Image, it says None, but if I click on this list, I will go over to my textures, and now I can pull up any of my texture files. If you did have a pre-built image, you would stick it in your textures folder, like my chameleon material. Yeah, I know, it's a material. There's my color. Now you can see my beautiful chameleon UV map. That's not going to be great for a menu. I'm actually looking for my wood diffuse. I think that's going to be a nice backdrop for me. If you like it but you don't love it, there are other things you can add to it, like effects. So I could add a background blur, pull that there, just drop it on the canvas panel, and again I would size it up to 1920 by 1080, anchor it in the center, and then all I have to do is find the blur strength, and now it'll blur that out. So that's how you're going to set up the initial background of your menu, and that's plenty for now. Take a moment, familiarize yourself with this interface, see if you can add an image file to your background, get used to typing these numbers in, and when I get back I will go through adding text and adding buttons.